Who doesn't love a good video game themed creepypasta? Now if you're a fan of online urban legends, especially ones that incorporated beloved video game titles, the idea of adapting digital myths and actualizing them into a real life game is pretty darn sweet. It's the dream. Now that's something that all of these entries on our list today have accomplished. We are counting down the top 10 creepypastas you can play, part 2. Now these are all games inspired by creepypastas that bring those scary stories to life, and for the most part, they're pretty darn awesome, and also spooky. So let's get to it! Starting us off in at number 10, Killswitch. We've talked about Killswitch a whole lot on our channel. Killswitch is a game that has been reproduced by fans in recent years based off of its urban legend. Now as the tale goes, originally only 5,000 copies of this game were made, and after you finish the game, it deletes from your computer. You can either play as Porto or an invisible demon named Ghast, the latter being impossible to finish the game with, and both characters being tied to a greater mystery. Now allegedly, a man had managed to buy one of the last remaining copies of the game and planned to stream it on his YouTube channel so people could see it. But when he did stream, all we got was a minute or so of him sitting in front of his computer violently crying, or at least so the creepypasta goes. Now while the fan-made version of this game definitely won't leave you in tears, it is one that makes for an interesting challenge, especially if you choose to play as Ghast. Moving on to number 9, Creepypasta Craft. Okay, so a bit of a non-traditional pick for this number here. We are looking at Minecraft, but not just regular old Minecraft. Oh no, we are talking the Creepypasta Craft mod that allows you to insert creepypasta enemies within your Minecraft game. And it is a lot spookier than you'd think it would be. It adds characters like Jeff the Killer, the Rake, and many more classics to your game, along with unique items and weapons that you'll need in order to combat these horrors. So if you love Minecraft and you love a variety of different creepypastas, this is a mod for you. And just like in general, Minecraft has a lot of creepy mods that are not necessarily based on creepypastas, but yeah, worth checking out. We actually did a list on it. There's a link maybe somewhere here to it or down below. Up next, number 8, Jeff. Some of the more popular creepypastas out there have spawned not just one video game adaptation, but multiple, as is the case with the creepypasta legend, Jeff the Killer. Now for this number, we're going to be discussing one of his games titled Jeff, capital J-E-F-F. Jeff is a third-person game that, based on many Let's Plays and reviews, is not really all that great of a title. The maps are really large, things are confusing, etc. But it does have a pretty darn scary atmosphere that you must navigate as you try to survive encounters with Jeff the Killer. And really, isn't that kind of what the heart of the creepypasta is all about at the end of the day? Just trying to survive. If you like really atmospheric titles, this is definitely something for you to check out. But don't expect it to be like The Last of Us quality, just saying. And at number 7, Mr. Mix. So this creepypasta tells the tale of an old PC game from the early 90s titled Mr. Mix, which was similar to an educational typing game the likes of Mario Teaches Typing. Essentially, you learn how to type by following the instructions given to you. But it's fun! You have to type words into a box, which, if correct, the chef, Mr. Mix, will then put ingredients into a bowl to make a recipe. It has a words per minute requirement per level, which, by level 5, made it almost impossible to proceed. Players reported having nightmares featuring the creepy Mr. Mix, and eventually, as the story goes, a few hackers broke into the game to see what was after the 5th level. What they found was extraordinarily disturbing. The files within the game included a gross amount of images, all featuring deformed and maimed individuals, many with layers of their skin torn off. Now, if you tried to delete the images, your computer would crash. 2 years after the game was initially hacked, one of those hackers had a mental breakdown and tried to kidnap a 9-year-old girl at a supermarket while dressed up as Mr. Mix. And that's the creepypasta. So, do you guys think you can get past the 5th level and see these horrors? Well, now you can try with one of these fan-made games of Mr. Mix. There's actually a few of them, so we suggest giving it a Google and testing out a few before committing to one that you really like. Moving on to number 6, Rake. Alright, so here we've got a title that manages to be a bit more polished than some of its predecessors on this list. Rake. Titled Rake after the creepypasta Rake. Rake is a humanoid creature who has a hunger for human flesh. Fun. It's pale, hairless, and absolutely horrific. It has no apparent mouth, is 6 feet tall when standing, but it usually crouches and walks on all fours. It has no nose, and generally murders everyone it's encountered. Its creepypastas are typically documented encounters with the creature, some of which the narrator dies, other times it's a story that the narrator's heard from someone else. So of course someone out there made a game based off of this creepypasta and put it up on Steam. Now according to the game's description, I quote, "You play as Gordon Davis, a scientist, a traveler, and an explorer of unknown creatures and unusual events. Having learned one more of these legends, Gordon travels through to the country in search of poltergeists, Bigfoot, Mothman, and other American legends, exploring haunted houses, trekking through creepy bushy forests, and scanning the sky and lakes to collect data about the mystical events that he encounters. And of course, The big part of the game, you run into Rake, and it looks really, really creepy. Moving on to number 5, Sad Satan. Sad Satan is a PC game that made some major waves in 2015 after a YouTube channel called Obscure Horror Corner did a let's play of the title, and news site Kotaku covered it in a highly publicized article. Now initially the channel claimed to have downloaded it from the dark web, with a lot of speculation as to whether or not the game actually existed. Thing is, there is a Sad Satan game out there that you can find online to download and play. But many people have speculated that this game is clearly a clone created by Obscure Horror Corner as an attempt to give their initial claims more credibility, specifically the claims that gore and child pornography were in the title. But be warned friends, the game that you can download online is a malware version. It recreates some of the things that happen in the creepypasta, or rather, what they experience on the YouTube channel. Although there is a clean version that you can find that is free of the more graphic material that the title boasts, meaning no child pornography, but definitely the gore. I mean, we're all here for the gore. At least I hope you are. Please be here for the gore and not anything else gross. Moving on to number 4, Jeff the Killer. We have another Jeff the Killer number for you guys here. So this one is a first person version, and it's pretty darn terrifying. According to the game synopsis, I quote, "Jeff the Killer is a first person horror game for those who enjoy tension and scary moments. Have you ever woken up from a terrifying nightmare with a certain feeling that something is wrong? Imagine you heard something coming from inside your home and you had to go check on what was going on. You grab a flashlight and start walking through the dark, empty corridors of a large and cold house. Ever heard of Jeff the Killer or Slenderman? Well, they will hunt you in your dreams. Your goal in this real horror game is to collect all keys and get the hell out of that house. Lights off, speakers on, story begins." Now this game is one that is available on the game site silvergames.com and is worth checking out if you're looking for a fun scare without having to bust open your wallet to do it. Up next, number 3, The Theater. The Theater is another creepypasta that we've mentioned a few times on our channel, and it's one of the better ones out there. If you're unfamiliar with it, here's the point form version of what to expect. The creepypasta begins with a narrator picking up a disc for a PC game that only contains the image of a ticket taker on the front cover, but with a black and white swirl where his face should be. Now when the narrator plays it, they're brought to the front of an old movie theater. They enter and the only person inside is that ticket taker, with a normal face though. They go up to him, he gives an automated response, and you walk down a dark hallway to your cinema. But as you reach the end of the hallway, you constantly respawn back to the theater lobby. Now you keep repeating this action over and over and over again, and some really weird things begin to go down, and the ticket taker becomes more eerie. It's definitely a whole experience, and there has been games created based on this creepypasta that you can now download and play. No spoilers here, but it is definitely creepy as hell. And if you're a big fan of unsettling environments in video games, this one is totally up your alley, or down your alley. You'll like it. In at number 2, International Mystic Soccer Night Dominion. What a title. International Mystic Soccer Night Dominion is a game that was released in Japan, but due to incredibly poor reviews, it was never distributed elsewhere. Or so the creepypasta says. Now, a player took it upon themselves to make a guide for the game, writing this at the top of their webpage. I quote, "All the reviewers failed to approach the game for what it was trying to be and wanted to play it like a traditional sports game, skipping the dialogues and docking points for lacking sports games options, quick match, multiplayer, etc. I hope my page will encourage you to play it for yourself and give it a fair chance that it was denied at release." Now, most of this webpage is broken now and is missing its images, but as you read through the game's walkthrough, it becomes more and more satanic, with talk of blood rituals and sacrificing players and referees, and eventually makes you question the existence of the game altogether, which I guess is sort of the point of a creepypasta. While it's generally believed that this supposed PS2 title never actually existed, there are rumors of user-made versions that you can find online if you dig deep enough. But beware, it's definitely not safe for work content. And finally, in at number 1, Slender The Arrival. Slender The Arrival is the most polished game on our list. It's a title based off of the Slenderman creepypasta, which centers on a mystery that you try to unravel. It's a spin-off of a game made by the same developer called Slender The 8 Pages, which is somewhat remade into this title. There's a whole level that includes that, so don't worry, you don't have to play both, unless you kind of want the story. But coming from someone who has never played Slender The 8 Pages, but watched Let's Plays of it, you don't really need to. Now in this game you play as Lauren, a friend who has been getting unsettling letters from a woman named Kate, who was the protagonist in the 8 Pages game. The story in this one spans across various different deserted rural locales and paints a better picture of what happened to Kate, why she's gone missing, as well as unraveling the mysteries of missing children who have become the victims of Slenderman. It's scary as hell, and it's got a level in an abandoned mine industrial place that will have you jumping and shouting out loud. And yes, Slenderman makes several different appearances throughout too. It's scary. Alright, there we have it friends. What other creepypastas have you seen adapted into a video game online? Give us a shout in those comments below and let us know. If you guys dug this video, you know what to do. Hit that like button, subscribe to Top 10 Gaming if you haven't already, because we'd love it if you stuck around some more, and be sure to share this with a friend. Thanks for watching. I will catch you all in the next video.